of these players are also like very like they're in their archetypes, right? We've seen
Yeah.
Hippolyte playing this very similar team, for example, or Hippolyte, playing a very similar team in Stuttgart as well, where the only difference was there was a Tyranitar on the Hydreigon slot, if I remember that correctly. But as once again, right, Hippolyte, a very strong player, Stuttgart regional top 16. We have a World Cup last year or 2 years ago, sorry, top 4 again, as mentioned earlier, and also a world's top 16 player. So like this player knows what it's like to be under pressure, and probably can also like deal with it a lot better than many others that weren't in these situations before camp.
Yeah, pressure is not unknown for Hippolyte, and it is, as you said, they were playing a very similar team in Stuttgart, but with the small adaptation of just Hydreigon instead of Tyranitar. But the team being Amoonguss, Incineroar, Hydreigon, Gholdengo, Porygon 2, and Ursaluna. We have seen a lot of variants of these teams, and we know that these teams are quite strong because Porygon 2 being absolutely super bulky and having the right amount of offensive pressure as well with its Terra Blast or even Ice Beam to cover a lot of these meta threats. And just Ursaluna, we have seen the rise of Bear, and Bear is very important to have, and that's why I actually think Hydreigon might be on the team, because Hydreigon itself having Levitate, but also that Terra Ghost, so for opposing Ursaluna with Facade and Headlong Rush, you are able to just completely negate the damage there.
Yeah, this is definitely a good strategy for the mirror matchup, for example. But as you mentioned, like this team, like you can also see it has Tailwind, it has Trick Room, right? So as an opponent, you always have to guess what will your opponent do? Like, will they go for Trick Room, or will they just overwhelm you with the Tailwind mode, right? And this Hydreigon having Snarl as well also has a lot of utility into other teams that pressure this kind of archetype a lot. For example, Sun, right, can be one of those. But with a Dragon type and with Snarl, you can like reduce some of this damage, and then maybe make your P2 or your Porygon make your Gholdengo and Ursaluna even more bulky. Like you can make them bulkier than usual, and you also have Intimidate. The damage reduction is very nice. So that it has a lot of tools. It has a lot of tools to play around.
Exactly. Hydreigon being one of those Pokemon that has been resurfaced. But let's see what Hippolyte is actually playing against as well, because of course we have a Raghav's teams as well, which we do have to mention. NAIC finalists in 2023. In 2022, we're able to get World's Top 64, 2019 Anaheim Regional Champion, and 2 times World Cup Top 8 contender in Team India. So just like Hippolyte, being able to handle pressure a lot, and this time with a different team.
Yeah, we can see the usually referred to as the Doug archetype. It is Dragonite, Gholdengo, Ursaluna, and then some support around it. There's some different Pokemon seen there on the Annihilate slot. Sometimes it's Sneasler, sometimes it is, as we see here, Annihilate. But it's usually just to like offer some protection from Incineroar. It has this Defiant ability, so Intimidate will boost it up instead of weaken it. We see the Tailwind, Haze, Dragonite. Usually Dragonites have ran Scale Shot Extreme Speed in these kind of formats, but in this one, in this team specifically, we see the Tailwind variant to offer some speed control. And we also have a Mouse Hold, interestingly enough. It's a tiny mouse to protect the Annihilate, and to even boost it up with the Beat Up combination. Like, that is a very dangerous combo to go up against.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to beat yourself up with each hit, of course, Rage Fist getting boosted to 250 base power, which is immense, especially if you are able to get that off turn 1 against one of your opponents there, which is of course devastating in some regards. So definitely something you have to respect. And just as you mentioned, Mouse Hold, interesting because we have seen a lot of redirection Pokemon on these kind of teams. But Mouse Hold being able to support a little bit extra thanks to that Friend Guard. So even if it's not redirected and just, for example, protecting, the other Pokemon will take just a little bit less damage because, Mouse Hold is that good of a friend.
Yeah, definitely is something you have to look out for. Also, the Annihilate version, like the Annihilate, cannot really hit Porygon and Ursaluna with Rage Fist.
Yeah.
But I think we're just gonna go into the game and see what this is gonna look like, how Hippolyte is gonna approach this, and how Raghav is gonna approach this match.
Yep, we have the Mousehole and Incineroar lead actually, as Goldugo and Hydreigon are coming out as well. Intimidate, of course, affecting both, not really affecting either of these Pokemon as they are both special attackers. Incineroar is threatening the Goldugo in this position, but I think the Mousehole is interesting lead as it is able to just Super Fang and try to make sure that a lot of these Pokemon get chipped down for maybe some later Pokemon to come in here.
Yeah, but do you really want to Super Fang two potential Ghost types? Like, the only other move the Mousehole can do is beat up. And we also see the Super Fang coming straight into the Hydreigon, doing half of its HP damage before the Tailwind comes out. And this means the Incineroar is also ready to attack. And we see a Make It Rain from the Goldango chipping down on this Mousehole. It still survives. Incin doesn't really take a lot of damage because of the Frank Art, but the knockoff will do some significant damage on the Goldango.
Yep, Metal Coat is gone, meaning the Make It Rain next to its -1 special attack will now even do less. Mousehole being really able to take that quite well, because most of the time with these Focus Sash variants, you tend to expect that they are just a fast version, potentially even offensive, but with only beat up, I can definitely see that this Mousehole has some both. The Tailwind has been set up by Hippolyte, so trying to really use this momentum right now, because you do have still a Hydreigon with a very strong special attacks that is able to fire off these Draco Meteors, these strong Draco Meteors to any slots. And honestly, I feel like this is prime target for a Draco Meteor right now. Incineroar actually opting to switch out into an Annihilate here.
Yeah, the speed control is on Hippolyte's side, but we see the switch from Incin, so Raghav wants to preserve that Pokemon for later on, maybe to deal with that Goldango, but the Draco Meteor, comes into the Annihilate, doesn't really do a lot of damage, but boosts up its Rage Fist. As we see.
That wasn't all that much damage. I must say, like, front guard is one thing, but I was at least expecting Annihilate to go down to enough damage that it would have eaten its berry. But now Goldugo is at +1. You have the Tailwind up. The issue at hand, though, is you can hit this Annihilate for super effective ghost damage. Unfortunately, there's a Mousehole next to it ready to redirect as well. So in this position, actually, Raghav opting to switch out his Mousehole, going back into Incineroar, trying to get back into that game of Incineroar is able to resist any move that Goldugo wants to go for. Hydreigon is at -2 as well with the Draco Meteor. Protect, just making sure that this Annihilate stays safe for just at least one turn. Draco Meteor into the Incineroar will not do all that much damage, as this special attack will drop just significantly more. Shadow Ball into the Annihilate, and now you're playing the game of, is this Mousehole potentially switching into this Annihilate slot again?
Yeah, and with the Hydreigon being on -4 now, I think the Draco Meteor, I don't know if it's enough on the Mousehole. Like, so the question is, can you cover for this somehow? You also have to be wary of the fake out, because Raghav, as soon as Raghav removes the Hydreigon, there is no way for you to get a Tailwind again for Hippolyte, right? Yeah. And so the question is, what do you do from there? Because Raghav has the faster Pokemon. The Annihilate is now boosted. At least it is from +1, so nothing that you can ignore. At least the Rage Fist stacks. Yep. So now the question is, how do you deal with this? Do you sacrifice the Hydreigon, or do you just make sure it survives as long as possible?
Yeah, opting to switch in the Mousehole again, activating the Frank Guard yet again. We have the Terra activation as well. It is on the Annihilate, trying to make sure that it is able to not be hit super effectively by this +1 Shadow Ball at the very least, and maybe even taking some more stacks onto its Rage Fist as well, as the Hydreigon is protecting itself, trying to preserve it a bit, because as you said, you want that Tailwind, you want to be able to overwhelm your opponent. Shadow Ball into that Annihilate, doing a lot of damage, but not enough. Citrus Berry activating, Annihilate being able to take a little snack break there, and now being able to come up with a Drain Punch, but unfortunately into that Protect, so a good Terra defensively, but not really effective as of this moment.
Yeah, now with this Protect, despite the Hydreigon not really having the offensive output, it can set up Tailwind again. Now the question is, this Goldango is on +1, right? It doesn't have the damage it doesn't have the damage to knock both of these Pokemon out, I think, especially through the friend guy. But we see the beat up into the Goldengo.
Wait.
No Goldengo!
This is crazy! Oh my god! An option I did not even consider. The Goldengo is of course already damaged, so the beat up going into that Goldengo, making sure that that is at least gone right now. Tailwind will be set up, but at the very least the Goldengo at +1 is gone as well. And now with this Tailwind up, this Annihilate has yet to move, and it is going to be a Drain Punch, and that will be able to KO it. And now you still have a decently healthy Annihilate on the field next to Maushold. But luckily for Hippolyte, there is still that Tailwind.
Yeah, the Tailwind is probably the best thing that happened this turn, because now we can see there's an Ursaluna waiting in the back and an Amoonguss, but the problem is Ursaluna needs one turn to basically get the Flame Orb activated that it's carrying to boost its damage, right? Without that, I don't think it can knock out an Annihilate, despite the Terra Fire through Friend Guard. So how are you gonna deal with this, right? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna hope you have enough damage and potentially risk the game? But you know, there's a lot of things that this Annihilate can do right now. It can protect, the Instinct can switch in. So the fact that Raghav has still all of his pieces ready to go is a big downside for Hippolyte.
Yeah, the pieces were well preserved by Raghav, just making sure that everything was still healthy enough, being able to survive still, and still having enough options to stall out a second wave of Tailwind there. And it is, as you said, like with the Fengar, with the Annihilate still being a very decently bulky Pokemon, what are the options that you carry here? It is just a switch out from Maushold, so most likely we are seeing a Protect from the Annihilate and then Incineroar with the Intimidate, trying to make sure that you do have that fake up potential. Possibly, of course, because we do have Terragoat of the but it's the Headlong Rush into the Incineroar, and that Incineroar is suddenly gone. Annihilate not protecting just yet, so if this is a Spore from the Amoonguss coming into the Annihilate, that could prove to be quite effective just as well. Drain Punch doing massive amount of damage, of course, thanks to the Headlong Rush, lowering the defenses of this Ursaluna, and this Annihilate is back at full health somehow.
Yeah, it did recover a lot of health, but the Amoonguss puts the Annihilate to sleep, so... And now we also see the Flame Orb activating, which means the Earthquake might be enough to take it out. But I think Raghav just has preserved his pieces way too well, because now the Maushold comes back in, which means you can stall out another turn, right? Or the Goldengo. We see the Goldengo, so we see the fourth Pokemon. We didn't even see it as up to this point. The question is, how long is Tailwind still up, right? It is 2 more turns, so the Goldengo can protect, then maybe switch out, and then you have a Goldengo staring down an Ursaluna outside of Tailwind. The Amoonguss cannot touch it, so there is a lot of if Raghav manages to stall out the Tailwind, then this game is definitely theirs.
Yeah, I do see the option here for Raghav to try and make sure that you are able to protect the following turn here, deciding to switch back into the Maushold. Earthquake coming out. We do have the possibility, the fear, of course, of this Amoonguss, which is not going to go for a Spore, instead going for a Pollen Puff, trying to make sure that this Ursaluna is able to hang on for just a bit longer with this Pollen Puff, and potentially being able to do at least something at the very least when this Goldengo is back on the field, and potentially also when the Tailwind is over.
Yeah, Raghav's Goldengo is also Life Orb, so I think it's pretty safe to just click Protect here. Hoping also for a Annihilate Protect to go through. I mean, the first Sleep turn has been burned, so potentially you could get it through. But we see the Annihilate doesn't really want to wake up. It is still tired. It's also late at night for the Annihilate. The Goldengo definitely protecting here, not going to risk anything. The question is, what would the Amoonguss do? We see the Earthquake coming out. That shouldn't do too much to the Amoonguss. But
it should heal at the very least. Annihilate is gone, but this Amoonguss could just try and be a health pack for this Ursaluna. But it's as you said, this Goldengo is Life Orb. It will most likely do a lot of damage still, even at because the Ursaluna is at -1. But if anything, I always underestimate the bulk that this Ursaluna has. So it's always one of those positions where I'm always kind of afraid, like, is this gonna do? Is this enough? I actually don't know. Like, am I sure that this is their spread? So yeah,
it is a Life Orb Goldengo. Like a Life Orb Goldengo does a lot of damage.
I respect
Now you made me unsure as well. But a Headlong Rush single target definitely does quite a lot of damage. So I think it really comes down to how these Pokemon are trained, right? Because if the Make It Rain is enough, then I mean this game's definitely over. But it is not.
It is not enough. As I said, that's the thing with Ursaluna. You're never sure if it is not fainted. It will do a lot of damage, and that is exactly what it is going to do. Headlong Rush. Raghav keeping his pieces very well there, but Hippolyte trusting into his Ursaluna, just making sure that stays healthy enough that even with all of the pieces that Raghav still had, being able to sweep right through that with a guts boosted Headlong Rush there.
I was definitely too optimistic on that side, saying that
Hey.
Goldengo could win after the Tailwind. I didn't consider that Amoonguss has Palm Puff. You know, this Amoonguss doesn't even have to redirect. This Pokemon has so many tools; it can just help you heal up the bear, and then that's it. And then you just have to tank a Headlong Rush out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I do think it was interesting to see, like, even when Raghav's plan was clear from turn 2, where it was like, okay, you set up Tailwind, I'm just gonna try and bulk it out and come in later to try and overwhelm you later with Go, with my redirection from Mousehold, with my Annihilate, with all the stacks. But Hippolyte being able to really get through that, especially I feel like the like being able to set up the Tailwind on the very last turn, very good, very well protected for the Hydreigon, giving the possibility for your Amoonguss and of course your Ursaluna is superbly good, as we just saw.
Yeah, that Ursaluna definitely a Pokemon that just picks up kills left and right if left unchecked, especially in Tailwind. The thing is also, Raghav's team doesn't have the usual tools that like Mousehold and Annihilate players use to redirect Amoonguss, because Amoonguss can be really annoying for these two Pokemon, because you can redirect the beat up and you can put the Annihilate to sleep, because even the fully boosted Rage Fist has a chance or can potentially not knock out your Amoonguss there. So and that's why both of these Pokemon either have Terra Grass or Goggles, but the safety goggles are on Incineroar. So definitely tools that could have helped here. But the Incineroar was also able to switch in on those spores. So we'll see how this will play out and how Raghav wants to adjust to maybe stall out these Tailwinds a little better, or maybe like position better, so like there's not a second turn of Tailwind. Well, I guess we'll see.
We'll have to see.
2.
Maybe they'll just match Tailwinds. So let's take a look at game 2. What these players have decided to bring this time, as we do have the leads here. It is Mousehold and Annihilate, just a trusty old system. Trust in the system, as it is Go and Amoonguss this time. And this is what you mentioned as well. The tools that normally this Mousehold is carrying with the safety goggles, being able to redirect, follow me, the spores to it. But now it is able to be redirected. These beat-ups will not be used onto this Annihilate if it wants to go for that.
Yeah, these leads are classic VGC leads right there. We see a redirection, we see the Goldengo, and we see Annihilate with beat up next to it. The question is, what do you do if you cannot beat up, right? What does the Annihilate do if it has to be afraid of being spored? And like we see it immediately just like leaves the field. This is also very interesting because the Mousehold doesn't really carry Taunt. Usually they also have Taunt to get rid of this Amoonguss, or to just like shut it down, but we don't even see this here. So the Mousehold is just it is not protecting. Where we see the Rage Powder from the Amoonguss coming in. Incin has replaced the Annihilate. We see Super Fang going into the Amoonguss to get rid of it. Rather, I like to do some chip damage right there.
Yeah, and with that, the sash is also broken on this Mousehold just as well. Go being free to set up, and you're still in a position where Incineroar can potentially fake out the Amoonguss in that regard. But then you're leaving this Go to its devices, and that you don't really want to do that. Now, we have seen Mousehold raise its hands earlier with beat up to this Go. But right now, this Go is very much at full health and really not minding this at all. I feel like people really had the right read there from this turn 1. As the Super Fang is trying to go into that Go, but it's not affecting it. We have the massive block from the Go, just setting up again. This Incineroar can just go for a knockoff right here.
Yeah, but we saw in game 1 that Goldengo survives this, and so Raghav was making the read that the Goldengo will go for the knockoff, or that the Goldengo will go for the Terra, but it didn't, so the Super Fang went into nothing, And the Amoonguss is doing what it can do best, clicking Pollen Puff. There is nothing scarier than a +4 Gholdengo staring right at you.
Yeah, and this Amoonguss being able to be the perfect health pack right now, trying to make sure that this Gholdengo is able to do what it likes to do as well. Knockoff, didn't kill it. Okay, Raghav still has the option of potentially Flare Blitz. The unfortunate issue with that is, of course, you still have that Terra. Because you kept your Terra Water for later, you can now just absolutely try and demolish your opponent right now, because you are defensively Terra. You already knocked off, so the knockoff will not do all that much damage. This Mazzle has been gotten once with the Super Fang. Will it go for another Super Fang? Do you trust yourself enough to go for a second one, is my question, as the Mazzle is just opting to protect.
Yeah, and the knockoff, as you mentioned, doesn't do a lot of damage, so we can see the Make It Rain, which will drop Gholdengo's damage. Shouldn't do too much to Incineroar despite the +4. That is half HP right there.
And Frengor? Wait a minute.
That is a decent amount of damage. We see the parting shot coming out, but we already know what this Amoonguss is going to do. So whatever comes in here, Raghav always has to be careful of the potential Spore. So maybe opting to play it a little safer, not switching in anything that can get spored. Yeah, we see the Gholdengo just to be safe from that Spore, but Hippolyte is navigating the situation perfectly. Hasn't gotten a call wrong so far, and is palm puffing the Gholdengo, knowing the potential Gholdengos which could come from there. And so Hippolyte is just in a very good position right now.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Rage Power, Pollen Puff from time to time. Super Fang misses again. This is unfortunate. This Amoonguss really enjoying it. We have the Nasty Plot coming out again. So we also see that the Gholdengo is faster. You can just go for Make It Rain. You're at +3 already. This is still doing 50% to a Gholdengo as well. Frengor, where is it?
The Frengor has just left the field. The Mice had enough. They just tagged too much. But the thing is, how do you get through this? How do you get through this Amoonguss fast enough that you can knock out the Gholdengo, right? Because we know there's an Annihilate in the back. It can Tower Fire, but I would guess that a Shadow Ball on +2 isn't really a nice thing to tank either for that Annihilate. So how do you get around this fast enough?
I think this is a really difficult position, but this is where Raghav really has to make these turns decide, because Incineroar does have the potential to take out any of these Pokemon, but Hippolyte has to protect on either of these Pokemon. So in that position, what do you do? Like, you are able to take out, for example, the Gholdengo, and you're able to Nasty Plot as well. We have seen that Raghav Gholdengo was faster last turn, and you can go to +4 as well with the Live Orb. But how much are you doing to the opposing Gholdengo is the question from Raghav's perspective here. As it is just Incineroar switching out yet again, maybe onto this double protect here, Annihilate being able to switch in, just trying to make sure that if the Gholdengo is faster, it's good, going for the Make It Rain, it is gonna kill this Amoonguss as well. So seeing that Hippolyte has not protected yet, what is his Gholdengo gonna do?
Well, there's either a Nasty Plot or a Make It Rain. Both of them wouldn't be comfortable to tank. We see the Shadow Ball coming out straight into Gholdengo. No Terra, so this Gholdengo is definitely gonna say goodbye. Both redirectors have been knocked out now, so there's no more shenanigans with redirection or like any of that. So, but what we see here is that now the Hydreigon comes in. So the Tailwind mode that has been so strong for Hippolyte in game 1 is coming back. And the thing is that the fact that the Gholdengo attacked last turn means it can safely protect from the fake out here. But you also have to make sure that you can knock out this Annihilate now fast enough. But this Gholdengo is +2, so I guess it can despite the Terra.
Yeah, this is just a way of positioning right now. Hydreigon going for the protect instead of like the Gholdengo. So let's see if Raghav did go for Gholdengo as well, as they can just make sure that this fake out is not affecting either of these Pokemon. As Annihilate really has to carry this team right now to try and make a comeback here, as it is bulking up to make sure, like, okay, you might get one turn of protection, but the next turn I'm punching something.
Yeah, that was a very safe play right there. The Gholdengo hasn't taken any damage. to be a Tailwind, then you just make the read. Okay, I am taking damage now, and so I will simply Rage Fist the Goldengo, which would do a lot of damage. But one thing Raghav also has to be aware of, that Hippolyte has a third Pokemon in the back, which they haven't seen yet. So what if your Ursaluna switches in, right? The Ursaluna and Tailwind has been very dangerous so far. And so do you really want to go Terra Fire to tank to make it rain? And a potential Draco Meteor.
Do you really want to get rid of any of these Pokemon right now? Because you'll get then, as a reward for killing one of these Pokemon, either the Hydreigon or the Goldengo, your reward is a potential Ursaluna and Tailwind, which is definitely not a position you want to be in, as the Tailwind is coming out. So making sure that that end game is looking locked up for Hippolyte. Shadow Ball going into that Annihilate. It is at +2, so doing a bit more damage as we see. Quite massive amount of damage as now. Citrus Berry will heal this Annihilate with just, a decent amount of damage just as well. As a Drain Punch into the Hydreigon, not enough to kill it, but this Annihilate will be able to heal quite a bit just as well. But now, there's Tailwind. The knockoff didn't kill the Goldengo, and now you have a prime double-up target.
Yeah, I think the way Hippolyte takes this one home is if they manage to position their Ursaluna in Tailwind, but Raghav can also position around that, right? Raghav knows that if these Pokemon are knocked out too fast, then their Ursaluna can come in. But we've already seen that Hippolyte is not clicking Make It Rain, does not want this Goldengo to be any weaker than it has to be. We see the Draco Meteor connect with the Incineroar. This is obviously enough. This is like there's no Assault Vest on this Incineroar, so it just says bye-bye. And here we see the Shadow Ball, which we already know does quite a lot of damage. Might even be enough. This Annihilate didn't recover enough health with the Drain Punch, but it holds on, and the Drain Punch takes out the Hydreigon.
Yeah.
But now,
exactly. Now, you might have gone through the Hydra, but there's another head, and it's a bear somehow in Tailwind that's suddenly there, being able to threaten your very weak Annihilate just as well. We haven't actually seen speed interactions, I believe, between Annihilate and the Goldengo itself to know who's faster outside of Tailwind, because I feel like the play is to try and double protect, I guess, but then there's still two targets to hit.
Yeah, I think anything else than a double protect could be very dangerous here.
Yeah.
That's probably the way Raghav chooses to go as well. Yeah, we see the first protect. It really comes down to the speed ties between, or not, like the speed stats between Goldengo. Yeah.
Yeah, this is as some people would say, rough looking as with another nasty plot. This Goldengo is even stronger than it was before. Ursaluna has also the Flame Orb activation, so you can choose. It's a choose your adventure kind of thing. You can protect once more to try. You can and then potentially kill one of these Pokemon, but then at the end there's another final boss to go.
Yeah, this was a very smart play from Hippolyte, because like if Hippolyte has would have decided to stay on the +2 and then make the call and then Tailwind ends, right? We don't know if the Annihilate is faster. We see the double protect coming through, right? So that is good. So now we actually get into the situation where we have to see whether Goldengo or Ursaluna is faster. And so these two nasty plots actually have been a really safe play to lock up the game, because Annihilate can only knock out one Pokemon, and there is a chance that the Drain Punch heals Annihilate enough so the +2 Shadow Ball does not knock out the Annihilate once it Drain Punches, right? So these two nasty plots make sure that no matter what happens, I am pretty sure that this Annihilate gets knocked out.
Honestly, he might tech it.
Even if it heals to full. We see the Drain Punch coming out. Let's see if my theory was right. Drain Punch doesn't even take out the Ursaluna here. This Pokemon is way too tanky.
As now a +6 Shadow Ball will definitely do it, I feel.
That's it.
Oh,
that was a close one.
That was close. That was close. Honestly, the count.
I think that was a +6.
Honestly,
I think that was +6 or +4.
That was textbook. That was well played. That was